Welcome to the tutorial for Application AB Playlist. This tutorial is divided into three sections. Section 1, Features. What does AB Playlist do? Section 2, Behaviors. How does AB Playlist do it? And Section 3, How do I configure this app? And closing commentary. The key feature of this application is the way it fast forwards and rewinds videos. Touch the screen to bring up the menu, hit the Q button, and you're welcomed by this dial here. Simply put your finger down on the dial and rotate to fast forward, and rotate the other way to rewind. This dial actually detects how close you're rotating to the centre of the dial. The closer to the centre of the dial, the faster the Q, and the closer to the outside, the slower. Every 360-degree rotation of the physical dial represents 60 seconds. As you can see there, that's on 6 minutes. And as that dial rotates around 360 degrees, it now hits 7 minutes. The dial control in this application is also used to set AB repeat points. Press the screen, press the AB, see the same Q dial, simply Q to point A and then Q to point B. So we'll dial the control, we'll stop that at exactly 8 minutes, let go, dial to 8 minutes and 4 seconds, release, and we've now set an AB repeat point between those 2 points. So you see it get up to 4 and then go back to 0. So as you can see, that will play over and over again between those 2 AB repeat points. AB Playlist also uses a dial to control the volume. Hit the screen, bring up the menu, hit volume, volume goes down, volume goes up. A very powerful feature of this application, which actually separates from other playlist applications, is the fact you can actually have mixed playlists. You can actually have locally stored videos, audio files, image files, and even YouTube streams all mixed in the same playlist. To demonstrate this, I'm going to put it into play all mode. When this video ends, it will progress onto an audio file, followed by an image, followed by a YouTube stream. This is a test audio file to demonstrate application AB Playlist. Testing, 1, 2, 3. And there's the image file there, which will show for 5 seconds. And then we'll progress on to a YouTube video, which is buffering now.
Hello developers, my name is Warwick White and I've just updated one of my open source libraries. This library is actually a dial control for the Android platform. Uses Canvas and extended views, so it works in exactly the same way that we use all Android developers are used to using views, so it's quite intuitive usage. So what I'm going to do is I've used the dial as a menu system for this app, so I'm going to dial to show you the main library demo and what this library actually does. So put my finger down, start rotating, so that simple rotation gesture there. I'm going to explain what...
It's actually quite a long video, so I'll cue to the end to let the playlist end naturally. And there you have it. 4 different types, all in a single playlist. This application also supports full screen rotation while videos are playing. Also, you can actually lock the video into its current orientation by bringing up the menu and tapping the icon in the upper left-hand corner. You can also lock out all controls while a video is playing by holding down the device's back key. As you can see, those are all locked out. This is actually a toggle. Simply hold down the key again to re-enable all controls. To exit the application while a video is playing, simply double tap the device's back key. To exit the application otherwise, just exit as normal with the back key once. This application has a number of standard features that you actually see across a lot of playlist applications. You've got play mode here, you've got repeat all, which actually repeats everything in the playlist. You've got repeat current, which repeats the current video over and over again. And play all, which obviously plays to the very end. And of course you've got the standard keys, which cues back one video, cue forward video again. And of course you could actually pause a video there and resume. So of course once you're in play all and the video reaches the end, then obviously the playlist will end. So this is the last video of the list, which will end the playlist. To close section 1 of this tutorial, I'm actually going to show you how to populate the playlist. When you first install the application, you'll be welcomed by this screen here. This is a tab host with 2 tabs. You have playlist and edit list. In playlist, you can actually access the application settings to configure the application, or you can actually toggle the playlist play mode. In edit list, you can actually populate the playlist from YouTube, or you can populate it from local storage. We're going to start out with local storage. This brings up a file picker dialog, and from here you can select SD card if you have one, or internal storage, which is the default. So from here, we're going to actually go down and we're going to scroll down to demo videos. As you can see, I've got 4 files in there, 4 MP video files in this folder. So to add those to the playlist, quite simple. We just click the check boxes to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there we go. We now have a populated playlist. Now from here, you can do a few things with this playlist once they're added. For example, you can actually move items up and down in the playlist. Simply hold down on an item, and then click the corresponding up and down buttons. That will move the playlist item up and down. Also from here, you can actually uncheck, recheck, and remove items from the playlist. I'll explain what checking and unchecking does in a minute. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to the file picker. Now as you probably noticed, the file picker went back to the same folder that I actually previously traversed from, which is a handy feature of this application because the file picker actually remembers the last folder you went to. Now also the file picker also remembers what playlist items are already in the playlist, which is actually dictated by what items are actually checked here. So the reason why that last one is no longer checked is obviously because I removed that item from the playlist. So I'm actually going to re-add that now by clicking there. There you go, it's added to the playlist. An extra little minor behaviour, if I uncheck something and go back to the file picker acts as if it's not in the playlist. So the behaviour here is, if I actually check an item which is already in the playlist and unchecked, it actually checks it in the background. And then of course that's a toggle, click it again, removes it, and click it and it adds it again. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I'm now going to show you this tab. You'll notice that you have the same playlist items over here as you do over here. There's a reason for this. There's a couple of reasons. One, this list over here allows you to start playing the playlist from any video in the playlist just by clicking the corresponding triangle on the right hand side. Whereas if over here, clicking close and play will always start from the beginning of the playlist. But also, if I actually uncheck this item here, like that, you'll notice that only 3 items are actually checked there. So if I go here, that only shows the checked items, which are checked over here. The idea of unchecking an item just simply means that it'll actually skip this in the playlist when it's actually playing, which is a handy feature, saves you from deleting things from the playlist and adding them constantly. So that's behaviour there. So we'll add that, recheck that again, and as you can see, it's back there. So now we're going to add something from YouTube. Okay, so we'll go like that. Now all of these forms support full rotation. So I've got a little YouTube ID and a cut and paste buffer here. Of course you can actually do a text search as well. So we'll do a little search there, and that will bring it up, and that will add it to the bottom of the playlist. So go there, you can see that's added to the playlist. If I uncheck that, the YouTube search actually behaves the same way as the file picker does. So for example, if I do a search there, again, this fragment actually supports rotation as well. It actually knows it's already in the playlist, so this time when I check it, it won't add or remove it, it will say item checked, because it knows it's already there. And click it again, it removes it, and then click it again, and it adds it. So quite straightforward there. So from there, that's actually how you populate the list. Also additionally, literally all of these fragments actually support full screen rotation, including the file picker. So from that's it there, that's actually how you populate the playlist. From there you just simply close and play and enjoy the user experience. So do your stuff there. And of course from over here, you can actually play from any item you want. So you can start from that video there and see that's playing out. So that ends this section of the tutorial on how to populate playlists. In this section of the tutorial, Behaviours, I'm going to explain the finer details of how this application actually behaves, along with an explanation of why these behaviours are very useful. So I'm going to start by pressing close and play and rotating the device. Okay, we'll start out just by queuing to somewhere in the middle of the video. Now, as you can see, that video is currently playing at the moment. So I'm now going to click the queue, and if you click queue while the video is playing, you'll actually notice that the queue dial is actually keeping time with the time in the video, until I actually rotate the dial and release, and then it continues playing. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click pause. Now what happens is, if I actually queue a video when it's a pause state, you'll actually notice that the queue dial doesn't move at all until I move it. And when I move it to that point and release it, it remains in a pause state. The reason why I chose this behaviour is I thought it'd be very useful for taking screenshots, as the queue functionality in this application is very good for kind of zeroing in on the exact frame because of the way the dial sensitivity works. Incidentally, the dial sensitivity is actually configurable in this application and will be covered later on in this tutorial. So what we're going to do here, we're going to actually press play. Now what I'm going to do again here, I'm actually going to queue again to actually demonstrate how the queue dial clips at the end of the video. So I'm actually going to dial to the end of the video. You see it clips there, dials to the beginning of the video, and it clips there, and it stops. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, I'm now going to set an A-B point. So what we're going to do here, set A point, we'll go to point A, and then we're going to go to point B and release. Now what happens now is, if I actually cue while an A-B point is set, the dial will actually clip at the A-B points instead of the beginning and the end of the videos, as you can see there. So that's another little handy behavior. There's a little minor behavior which is marginally useful. When you set an A-B point, the A point can be to the right of the B point, and it will still work. What we're going to do now, we're going to remove that A-B point, and we're actually going to go to the main menu, and actually going to remove that, uncheck that, so it doesn't play out in the playlist. And click close and play. I'm now going to demonstrate a different part of the A-B repeat behavior and how it's very, very useful. As you can see, I'm in repeat current mode at the moment, so that video is going to play over and over again. There's a list of 3 videos here: test video 1, test video 2, and test video 3. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to test video 2, and I'm going to set an A-B point. Now I'm going to click there, and I'm going to select it, say 1 second in, and we'll pause it at, say, 4 seconds in. So that's a repeat current mode. That will actually play between those 2 points over and over again. Now this is where the repeat behavior gets interesting. If I actually click back and actually take it out of repeat current mode, what happens is, when it actually enters a video of an A-B repeat point, it will actually start at point A, go to point B, and then traverse on to video 3. You watch happen, it gets 5 seconds, and then it'll skip to video 3. As you can see, that's now skipped to video 3. So I'm going to go back here, and I'll put that in repeat current mode, so that's playing over and over again. Now the reason I actually chose this behavior and why it's useful is it'd be very, very handy to actually filter out all the long boring intros and extras in your entire playlist. This is actually why I chose this behavior. So what I'm going to do here also, just to demonstrate, you can actually change the play modes dynamically. So for example, if I'm in repeat current mode there, if I actually click remove, that will actually get past the B point and actually go on to the end of the video, and it'll actually traverse on to section 3. So I'll actually change that dynamically to, say, I'm going to go click on next, change it to play all, and what will happen now is when it gets to the end, instead of repeating back from video 1, it will actually end the playlist. As you can see there, that'll come up to the end of the playlist. Okay, that concludes this section of the tutorial on behaviors. In this final section of the behavior tutorial, I'm going to explain how this application actually deals with errors. Now, while I'm explaining this, I'm going to close and play this playlist. Now, the first item in this playlist is actually a locally stored video. The second one is a YouTube video. And the third one is a still image. So we'll actually play that and we'll rotate the device. Now, what happens is, if there's an internet connection, when it actually reaches a YouTube video, obviously it does what it's supposed to do, and just buffers the YouTube video and starts playing. As you can see, which is coming up right now. There you go, it's buffering. And there's the little YouTube playlist there, count up 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Of course, you do usual stuff, and you can cue that video there. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to be naughty. I'm going to try and break the app by turning off the internet connection, knowing full well there's actually a YouTube item in the playlist. So what's going to happen there is that'll actually get to the end of this local video, and it'll actually skip the YouTube video because it knows there's no internet connection, and give a relative message. And there you go again. So what I'm going to do, just for fun, we're going to turn that back on again. And as you see, it'll get round to there again, detect it's on, and actually start playing. Now this application does a few other things to preserve the quality of the user experience when errors occur. What I do, I'm going to quickly turn this internet connection off again and leave it playing while I'm actually explaining what else it actually does. Here we go. Okay, so basically, if, say for example, if a locally stored file in the playlist, say for example an image file or an audio file or a video file, if that file for some reason can't be played, or it's invalid, or for some reason the file name doesn't exist, the behavior of that will be that you'll actually delete it from the playlist, as well as actually skipping the playlist item. If it's a YouTube item, it won't actually remove it from the playlist, it will just simply kind of skip the playlist. And the YouTube error checks for pretty much any errors, not just like lack of internet connection, but any type of network errors at all. So it's actually a very solid playlist, very hard to break, and this is actually how the application behaves with errors while preserving the quality of the user experience. We're now going to close up this tutorial by explaining how to actually configure the application, followed by a little short developer commentary explaining the roadmap features that are going to be added to this application in the future, along with some candidate features which I'm actually considering adding. So open up the application and we'll go click on settings. Welcome by this screen here. Now these are actually the default settings that we're actually looking at here. If any time you're a bit stuck and need some help knowing how to use this application, you can actually click help. When you click help, that will actually add an item to the tutorial item to your video playlist, which is actually the video you're actually watching at the moment. So I'll start out by explaining these settings here. These are actually the file picker filters. This is actually to do with the basically what files show up from the file picker when you're actually populating the playlist. So for example, if I actually click show videos, then videos will show up in the file picker. Click that, audio files will show up, and click that, and image files will show up. Now of course you can see that that's actually made a little text box appear down there, because obviously the image files have to be given a manual duration. So I'm going to change that to 5 seconds for the time being. So what that means is when I add a video to the when I add an image to the playlist, it will actually show for 5 seconds. Now bear in mind, if you actually change this value, all of the previous images in the playlist will actually preserve their own times. So for example, I change this to 10 and there's already an image in there which shows for 5 seconds. That will still show for 5 seconds. The new one will show for 10 seconds. So that explains those settings there. Now this is the queue sensitivity. This is actually to do with queuing or setting A/B points. Now as you know, the queue dial detects how close you rotate into the center of the dial and rotates quicker to the center and slower to the outside. These numbers here are expressed in seconds, or in this case 300 seconds or 5 minutes. What that means is when I'm dialing close to the center of the dial, for every circular gesture I make with my finger or thumb, it will actually rotate 5 times, and as I slide to the outside of the dial while queuing, it will slow down to kind of 30 seconds for every circular gesture I make with my finger. So that's actually that, and obviously those settings can be changed to anything you want. So bear in mind, with the way the metrics are worked out on this, that every physical rotation of the physical dial represents 60 seconds or 1 minute. Then we go down to this setting here, YouTube sensitivity. Now when you're actually queuing a YouTube video, it actually displays angle snapping behavior. The dial actually angle snaps. So in this case, it'll actually angle snap every 5 seconds. You can change that to 5 seconds, 10, 15, or off. Now the reason for the angle snapping behavior on the YouTube queue is because it actually greatly speeds up the response time from queuing a video. I don't know if any of you guys ever tried queuing a video with the old-fashioned kind of vertical scrolling control. Now the problem with the old way is that if you want to see where you actually queued to, you can't do it. Unless you keep your finger absolutely perfectly still, you won't actually see a response come back. Now the advantage of queuing the way we do with this dial is that if you simply hold your hand in a queue an angle snap point, you'll actually see the actual response come back from the YouTube queue. So you actually see very accurately where you've actually queued to, which is actually very handy. So basically this feature, this greatly increases the responsiveness of the queuing of online content at the expense of queue accuracy. Now we'll go on to this setting here. This is just number of results which is returned from YouTube. So when you search for a YouTube track, this will actually return 25 items for you to choose from to add to your playlist. So that's quite simple. So I'm going to close that down now. And I'm going to close and play this while I'm just finishing up with some developer commentary. Now the application actually has basically a feature that's going to be added to it, which is actually going to add Chromecast, which is definitely going to be added. Now also I've got some candidate features which I'm actually considering adding. One is to add like pan zoom on the images, and actually maybe even store the pan zoom and maybe even the orientation of the pan. I'm also thinking of adding maybe a function to have like transitions between the playlist items while they're playing. I'm also considering adding kind of an item or a button or some kind of a dial that allows you to move the playlist item up and down, because the actual playlist item, this can actually get quite big. So that's how I'm considering that, though I may not actually do that. Another feature I'm considering adding is actually in the playlist, not the edit list, but the playlist. I'm considering adding some kind of function which temporarily changes the kind of order of the playlist into alphabetical order, just to make it easier to search from where you want to start from. So there's kind of the candidate features that I'm thinking of adding. Also, as a developer, I take a lot of pride in my work and like preserving a really good user experience. So to this end, I like to take feature requests from you, the user, and I'm quite happy to take feature requests, any recommendations, anything you think you might actually be useful in the app, including design as well as functionality. If you want to make feature requests, you can actually email me at my developer email, which is warwickwestonwright@gmail.com. So you should see the email showing up in this video. So I'll leave you with that, and thank you very much for watching this tutorial, and thank you ever so much for using application playlist, AB playlist.